All right. Well, the recording started like 2 seconds ago. You ready?
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
count us in then, Mr.
Oh,
Yugen
okay
Cosmic.
then. Well, five, four, three, two, one.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Ramon Lewis.
And I'm Yugen Cosmic.
Did you get a little bit shy for a second?
just for a split second. Today's a very special
I
day
was
for
like,
us,
where did this
actually.
guy go? So tell me about it.
Yeah, today's a special day because today is date night slash day. And
That's right. So we're going
yeah,
to clink to that. Cheers, everybody.
cheers, cheers,
To would you have a drinking
gentle folk,
folk,
gentle folk.
gentle folk Chardonnay. Ding.
There you go. I want you to understand how important
All
this
right,
is
let's get to it.
because no, this is very important because there's this wine that Ramon loves, and I had to wait like 2.5 months for my importer to bring it into New York City just so that I can buy it, so that we can both have the same exact wine at the same time. So this is a very special occasion.
Yeah, the lengths we go
Yeah.
to have shared experiences in our shared reality on the other side of the world.
And what are we having for dinner slash lunch?
Well, we have a fish pie.
We're gonna be making fish pie. Yes, that's right. I'm excited.
Yeah, and then we just realized we probably should have had that in the oven before we did this. But anyway,
It's all
let's
good.
get to it.
All right. Boom.
All right. All right, so we're going to carry on from podcast 3. We just worked out that this is podcast 4. We get a little bit confused sometimes. So we are delving into themes around healthy relationships, and what we spoke about over the last 2 podcasts is being aware of triggers, some strategies how to dissolve them, take on different perspectives without compromising your own values. And today we're going to move into talking about how to build trust. It's a huge theme. So we're going to break it up a little bit. All right, so let's talk on time. Now I know that a lot of people don't take this experience on, but I believe in a benevolent universe. I do. It's true.
Okay, that's cool.
I believe that people are, therefore, I put my trust in those around me to mirror this experience back to me. Now, initially, I can intuitively feel if someone is a little shifty, right?
Hmm.
Just simply because of the energy that they give off, and I'm super
Really
sensitive
now?
like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, but this is the thing. If you don't trust yourself, you can't trust anyone else. And I believe that to be true. But I do understand on a deeper level, beyond initial interaction with someone, if people aren't very good at reading energy like I am, then the building of trust, takes time, it takes patience, and it takes a whole lot of work.
Okay. Well, I mean, look, I don't have the special 5G talents that my beautiful
D,
partner here.
babe.
Oh, 5D. I'm sorry. 5D,
Get it
5G.
right.
Talents that my partner here has. So, like most people on the planet, like, my relationships, it's I mean, okay. So, I prefer to view that, over time you get a certain level of trust with people. And typically the ones you've known the longest, you've had the most trust with. But granted, that doesn't necessarily translate to depth. You're not going to just tell people everything
Hmm.
about yourself just because you've known them for a while. There's a comfort level that's achieved, and also a what's the term I'm looking for? Kind of a mutual experience,
Mm.
where you're willing to go to that depth with a person. You come to understand that you and a person had very similar experiences in some way, and you're willing to actually go there because you feel safer with them. That
Mm.
being said, relationships, the same rules apply. Just because you're with somebody for a long time doesn't mean that you're gonna have that deep level of. That doesn't mean that time is going to translate to you guys having a deeper understanding and respect of each other. you have to be willing to go there with a person, and that's the
Yes.
only way that you'll be able to deepen trust in relation to time.
Yes, I agree. Yep. Longevity doesn't equate to depth.
Mm-hmm.
Not all the time. Not all the time.
That's true.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, you could be two old people sitting on a
All
rocking
right. So
chair,
I've got
like
another
95 years
consideration.
old, and still not know much about each other.
Yeah, and it's sad, like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm all about depth and meaning and going there with someone. Like, I want to know about your everything, and I want you to be vulnerable. And that's actually now what we're going to be talking about. This is a big theme.
Okay.
Big theme. One of my favorite themes, too, because someone who writes about this a lot is one of my favorite authors, and her name is Brené Brown. Have you heard of her, Megan?
I just did.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to share some Audible books with you about some of
Okay.
the stuff that she's written on. And she says this, and I love it. And I don't know if you're necessarily going to agree with it, but she says that
Why
vulnerability
do you
is
purpose
not.
it that way?
No, it's just that I know what you're going to say.
How do you know what I'm
So,
going to say? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
all right, I take that back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then I won't when I'm right. So, so vulnerability, she says, is not weakness. It's actually our greatest measure of courage. So in relationships, obviously it's really risky, but we have to take the risk if we want to experience connection. And most of us are scared of rejection because we just want to be accepted, essentially. And this means that vulnerability can be at times really daunting, because we're exposed. We're sharing our whole self, and we're diving into the depths of ourselves and sharing that with someone, and it can be frightening. Um, anyway, Brené Brown, she's done years of research about this, and what she discovered was that those that have really deep and meaningful relationships are those who live wholeheartedly. Now, what does that actually mean? Wholehearted living is to be vulnerable and to believe that you are worthy of love and belonging. So there's this book that I've been reading. It's called Daring Greatly. I'm going to share it with you, Eugen.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other quotes that she presents is that love and belonging are irreducible needs of all people. We are hardwired for connection. It's what gives meaning and purpose to our lives. And what she found was something really interesting. So through her interviews and research, she separated people into two categories: those that feel a deep sense of love and belonging, and those that struggle for it. Now, there's only one variable that separates these groups. Do you think you could take a guess as to what that might be?
I don't know.
Go on, take a guess. You can have one, maybe two.
Um, Sexual preferences? No, okay.
No.
Okay. Okay. Uh, I don't know.
All right. Well, I'll tell you then. So, those that feel lovable, who love and experience belonging, simply believe they are worthy of love and belonging.
Worthiness.
So it's
Interesting.
self-worth. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have lives. They don't have fewer struggles with addiction or depression. And they haven't even survived fewer traumas or bankruptcies or divorces. But in the midst of all of these struggles, they have simply developed practices that enable them to hold on to the belief that they are worthy of love and belonging and even joy.
Well, I agree in the sense that love and belonging are
Oh.
irreducible needs for all people. I think we all want that. Even people who do not get that, they do seek that. But I do not agree with her little quote about vulnerability is not a weakness.
Okay.
I appreciate people wanting to show there's a positive side of everything, but we also need to understand that words are words and they're meant to define things as they are. They shouldn't be redefined because they represent certain things that need to be defined. You know, if you want to find a word for courage, guess what? The word is called courage. Vulnerability means vulnerability. And, you know, coming back, I'm going to share a quote.
Alrighty.
Okay. How about you tell me who this is?
Okay.
You're going to know who this is, all right? I'm going to put on my... It's far better, is it to dare mighty things, to win glorious triumphs, even though checkered by failure, than to rank with those poor souls who neither enjoy nor suffer much, because they live in a grey twilight that knows not victory nor defeat.
Oh, darling, you did that very well, must I say.
And
I know who it is. Roosevelt.
Yeah, because we were on him recently, and you know it. Look, there was a movie I saw when I was younger. It was called Angus, and it was this guy who was a teenager and like he looked like an adult, chubby man, and his grandfather said, Angus, do you know why Superman's not brave? Because Superman is invulnerable. He knows he cannot die. True bravery comes from knowing that you are weak and you can die and still doing the impossible just because. That's true bravery. Knowing that in spite of the odds that you're willing to do what you must, you know, in order to accomplish a goal. So vulnerability is being vulnerable, but at the same time, acknowledging your vulnerability and willing to push through that shows strength. And that shows strength in a relationship because you want, you know, if you are afraid of going there with your partner or your friend because you're afraid of how they will respond, then you'll never have that level of depth with them. You'll never have that true connection or the possibility of that true connection, because I cannot say that you're going to get that. It might totally flip on its head and then it might not work out, but at least you'll know. You'll know that you can go there with that person or not. And wouldn't you rather have somebody that you can have that deeper level of understanding and trust with than just keep things in a very vague and shallow area of existence?
I like that, and I agree. We're being agreeable now.
What?
I mean, I gotta say, it's pretty courageous to wear your underpants on the other on the on the outside of your suit.
Well, it's kind of easy
That's
when you know that
vulnerability
you can
right there.
leap tall buildings and like, you know, fly faster than the speeding bullet. So do whatever you want at that point.
Absolutely, love it.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. So let's move into then. You know, we're talking about the depth of connection and how we create that depth is also about opening yourself up to, you know, different channels of communication and being open and expansive in that regard.
Okay.
And we've talked about triggers a lot, and they can definitely hurt the people that we love, because most often than not, the people that we love are in the firing line of our trigger points.
Oh, wow.
I know. So in terms of being open in communication, we have to remember this, that love is respect. So when we feel triggered in our body, there's something, you know, something is said, or, you know, usually that trigger is from something in the past. You know, it's got really nothing to do with that situation that we're confronted with in the present. Yeah. So we just have to take a moment to acknowledge that. It's really time to stop and breathe and notice, because you're going to feel it in your body. It's a very visceral experience. So in terms of responding in an open and honest way of what's going on for you, these are the sort of steps that you take, you know, stopping, breathing, noticing. And remembering also this, and it's also taking responsibility for the fact that it's usually your internal conflict playing out. It's not that someone else. Mm-hmm. It might be an experience in the past. Someone has said something that's triggered you, and you've just gone into autopilot and you're being reactive, and that's always sort of ends in disaster, you know. So taking a moment, breathing, observing, and then reminding yourself that it's actually got a lot to do with you. rather
That's
than
true.
the other person. Yeah.
No, you're right. We actually touched on that in the last podcast. When we were talking about dealing with triggers,
Mm.
and it's important to know people want to protect themselves. And
Mm.
I'm gonna call bullshit to anyone who says that they're trying to protect the other person. No, you're trying to protect
Mm.
yourself from whatever consequences your action will cause. You need to let go of that though. Take responsibility for yourself and speak honestly. Notice
Yeah.
I don't say things like speak your truth. Like conceptually, like I don't like that because it
So
implies
little.
there's a that universal truths are subjective. But,
Mm.
be honest with the person. Like, let them know what you're feeling, and don't be afraid of that because you want to have a if you aim to deceive them in that way, then everything that comes as a result of that will be a lie. And you will never be satisfied knowing that it's built on a lie. So you will never
Mm.
genuinely know them because they're interacting with you based on a lie. And who wants that?
Nobody wants it.
Exactly.
It's interesting though. I've noticed that too in a lot of uh, thing, relationships that I've noticed. People who I've met, friends and family. Not. I'm not going to name names. It's not the place to do it. But anyway, what I've observed is that I agree wholeheartedly with that. People who think they're protecting someone else by lying
Mm-hmm.
is just lying to yourself. And what you said about not taking responsibility, you're making an excuse for not taking responsibility for the situation that you're in.
Yeah.
And because we want to protect ourselves, but we also want to protect others. And so we've come to this kind of, it's sort of,
BS.
it's disillusioned,
It
really, to
is. No,
think that
totally.
you are protecting someone by lying to them. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what? No.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. Yeah, it's nonsensical.
Nonsensical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So stop, think, talk, listen. That's a big one too. And open communication also involves, well, for the most part, the body.
It's true.
Using your body language to show that you're listening is really important. Everyone wants to know that they have your attention. Sometimes I think that we're children in adult bodies just still wanting to get attention from people,
We are.
Are you
I
looking
mean,
at me?
but it's true though. Like think about it. Like just because we've gotten older doesn't mean that anything's changed. I think as we get older, things only get more complex. Complex. It doesn't
Mm,
change from when we're children. We just
yeah,
have more. We still argue. We still have joyous moments. We still have frustrating moments. It just becomes a much more complex situation.
yeah,
You know.
absolutely. Yeah, for sure, I agree. And I think what happens with craving attention and time and presence is that we deserve it. People deserve other people's time, and
Mm-hmm.
we want others to acknowledge that too.
Yeah.
Um, you could be physically in the room but completely tapped out. And presence is the key to an open and rich interaction. And I know at times I've been somewhere else other than in the room. That's for sure.
That's
I've done
funny.
it a lot.
That's funny because you always
Tell me
remind
one.
me to be present, and I'm like,
Ah!
because you'll see me like looking at something else, and you're like, hey, you again? I'm like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah. Well, you see things in other people because you know it in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always easy to be present, but I do see you when
Yeah,
you're
I
doing
know.
a few things
I
at once.
multitask.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I got 3 monitors set up here, so it's like I I know sometimes
Mm.
I get caught up in I see something, I'm like, oh, let me click on that and da da da.
I know it's not easy. I used to say this to the kids that I would teach at school, and I'd say, "You can't do two things at once," and they'd say, "Yeah, I can. Watch me." I say, "All right, well, you can. It is possible to do two things at once, but not or neither of them very well,
Mm-hmm. That's true.
for sure." And I also
Some
think then that sort of says a lot for trying to compartmentalize. To be present, we have to sort of separate things, you know.
That's true.
Um, so that we can be here now in this moment. And is it something, think about it like this. Is it something that we can figure out now? Does thinking about it change anything right now? Does doing anything in this moment really a priority? I think there's a lot of things that we can be aware of and ask ourselves, does it actually really matter at this moment? Can I achieve anything by doing this now? Yes, no, probably not.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, I feel kind of like you were kind of like pointing at me a little bit there, because I know I get distracted sometimes because of the time difference. We often work in different spaces, and I actually work on my computer a lot. So sometimes when we're just like getting caught up, I'm also getting into the day and like starting my work. It's important to be present. I mean, you have to show up for your partners. You expect them to show up for you, and you cannot coast a relationship just in a very passive sense. I mean, some people can, but understand, if you want the best out of a situation, you need to be ready and willing. Otherwise, you're just gonna end up, you know, in a really sucky situation that you're not gonna want to be in ultimately. So, I mean, that's just my
Well,
2 cents on the matter. And I think, yeah, stay present, like stay intentional, and make sure you experience things with your partner as things are happening.
yeah, presence is everything. Not always easy to do, but something to be aware of and conscious of all the time. Yeah,
Totally.
because that's where the magic happens, in the moment.
That's so true,
Because
baby.
this is the only moment that will ever exist.
Mhm.
Because I always say this to you, and I know I'm going to
Sadhguru.
repeat it again.
Mhm.
Sadhguru. Like, the past is gone. It's never going to repeat itself.
Mhm.
Tomorrow, or the future will never arrive, because when you get there, you're still in the present.
Yeah, tomorrow's
So
tomorrow.
this is the moment.
Mhm.
This is the moment.
Mhm. So what, everybody, we're gonna wrap this up right here, so. And we're gonna thank you for joining us with this recording. My name is Eugen Cosmic, and I'm from Jamaica but living in New York.
My God. Well, I'm just a plain Jane white girl from middle class Melbourne. And my name's Ramon.
And I absolutely love you, Ramon. You're my
I
favorite
love
person.
you too.
All right, guys, we'll catch you on the next one where we'll be finishing up building trust. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any feedback, please share. Otherwise, have a beautiful night.
And have a beautiful day over and out. We're going to get back into our gentle fruit Chardonnay and fish pies on the way. Cheers
All
to
right,
that.
let's get to it. Later.